Remember when you lost those earbuds last week? Who'd have thought that losing something so small and inconsequential like headphones would affect your life so profoundly? But you were so distraught and upset that you looked everywhere. And when I say you looked everywhere, I mean you looked everywhere. Under all the furniture, the couch cushions, under your bed, the kids' beds, behind the TV, the laundry, in your car, the trash cans inside and outside. Disgusting, by the way. It makes me less sorry about what I do in the house whenever you're not here. And even your toilet. Again, gross. I mean, you thought that you had only walked with them from your basement bathroom to your room upstairs. And you were right, you had only walked with them that far. But that was just far enough. I hope you don't mind that I took them. And thank God they're noise canceling. They'll keep your perfect little family from annoying me while I'm up here in the attic. Oh, I also wanted to thank you for the pizza you left out this morning. It was delicious. I know that was an accident as you and the kids rush off to work and school, but I still appreciate it. It was so kind of you to do so. It makes it far less suspicious for me to eat your food when you just leave it out like trash. It's almost like you wanted me to take it, like you wanted to tell me that you know that I'm watching. I can see everything from up here in the attic through the cracks. I mean, I've also hidden cameras throughout the house. Bet you can't guess where. I'll give you a hint. It's the room with the shower in it. I put one in your daughter's bathroom too, but she's not quite there yet. Although, she is starting to come into her own. She really does bear a striking resemblance to you. Like mother, like daughter, as they say. I can't wait to see how she develops. Honestly, it's one of the only reasons I haven't come out of the attic to reclaim my house yet. But I'll get to that soon. I want to go over some other things first. Lay some groundwork. Build a foundation so you can really see where I'm coming from. Now, in case you are wondering how I spend my day, because I know you are, I'll tell you. I start most days wandering around the house, foraging and gathering supplies so I can store them up in my attic. I eat as much as I can throughout the day so I don't have to worry about food at night. I mean, I do have a hefty supply of non-perishable food in my little hole just in case I can't come down for a long period of time, with plenty of water that I restock daily. I learned my lesson back in 2020, but I don't want to dive into my stockpile unless I have to, or if it's about to expire, whichever comes first. Downstairs, I make sure not to open anything, finish anything, or eat anything that would be too obvious, like cupcakes, leftovers from a restaurant, or individually wrapped items. Can't be too careful. Luckily, there are 4 of you living here with plenty of other people coming and going, so my scavenging has so far gone unnoticed. After I eat my fill and resupply, I take care of all of my business. I start by marking my territory in as many of the toilets as I can, and there's normally enough piss and shit in me so that I can hit most of them. This is my house after all. I can then leave them festering without flushing for hours, usually right before you come home. So, if you're ever wondering what that smell is when you walk into the house that you thought was clean, it's me. Sorry, not sorry. After I get my smell to permeate and penetrate throughout the house, I try my best to visit every room while eating as much as I can. I'm naked this whole time, I haven't showered yet, and I typically don't wipe very well. Did I mention that? Anyway, I start upstairs where your bedrooms are and lay down in every bed and sit on every chair. I lay on top of and under the covers. I also have a bad back, so I elevate myself a little by placing each of your pillows under my ass. Weird how you all keep getting pink eye. Must be something in the air, right? That's at least what you guys have been saying. I then start pleasuring myself in whoever's room has the best vibe that day. Now that the kids are teens, the boy is hiding some pretty nice stuff under his mattress, and the girl has some pretty nice looking friends. Oh, and the old faithful of Dad's porn collection. Very old school. I love it. Anyway, as I'm doing the deed, I like to walk around and rub it on your curtains and chairs and all your clean clothes in your drawers. I usually finish in bed and let it dry throughout the day, so yeah, that crunchy feeling is me too. Before I take a shower, because now I'm definitely in need of one, I start by cleaning my ass with your toothbrushes. I can't compromise my cleanliness just so you don't have problems at the dentist. I'm not doing that, not again. Then I shower and use as much of the most expensive stuff you bought as I can. All the different shampoos, conditioners, and fancy soaps. I also make sure to use your razor so I can be as smooth as possible. I typically end my day by continuing to munch on any food I don't think you'll miss while sitting on your couch watching TV. Luckily, you have a pretty predictable schedule throughout the day. There have been a few times where it's been a close call and you almost caught me. I don't know who that would have been worse for, you or me. Of course, after getting caught, I wouldn't be able to stay in my home anymore, but you wouldn't be able to tell anyone that you saw me. You wouldn't be able to tell anyone anything ever again. Also, you should really come up with a better combination or hide the key to your safe. I keep taking little bits of money out of it. Nothing that you'll ever notice, but enough for me to actually have a pretty good 401k now. Eventually, I'll have a down payment for a car or even a house. Maybe even this house. When you decide to sell it, that is. I mean, do you even know how to get up into the attic? Not one time have you even tried. Do you even know that there's one up here? The last time anyone ever tried was back when you first bought this house 4 years ago when your home inspector came snooping up here. I had to bury myself in insulation to make sure he didn't see me. Afterward, I just waited for everyone to leave and took a shower. This was back when it was my house. Oh, those were the best days. I didn't have to sneak around or anything. It was in between the last renters of the old owners and you moving in. The best part about that was it was a stale listing and before all the housing markets went wild. You know, pre-COVID times. I had the run of the place. I could shower, use the fridge, and just lay on the floor whenever I wanted. I even had internet access thanks to being so close to the neighbors. Best days of my life. And then you moved in. I thought it was bad enough that you and your deplorable family lived in my house, but you moved in right at the peak of COVID, so no one ever left the damned house. Everyone stayed put and just sat there all day. I couldn't move or get food or even go to the bathroom Sundays. I had to settle for sneaking out in the middle of the night to do my business, and that was terribly dangerous. I even thought about leaving this humble abode plenty of times for greener pastures, but in those days, there were no greener pastures. No one left the house, so I couldn't find a new one, and I sure as hell didn't want to be homeless. Besides, I liked this house. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, my friend. Come closer. No, closer. Yeah, that's it. One day, this house will once again be mine. You can count on it. It won't be hard. I've killed before. What? Haven't I mentioned that? Oh, silly me. I thought I told you. How embarrassing. I never told you why I'm living in the attic. Well, it all started with an ungrateful bitch who thought she knew everything. But she didn't. She thought she was above me, but nobody is above me. She tried to tell me that she was gonna take the kids and stay at her mother's house, so she could have some time to think. Not on my watch. No way you're leaving this house. I don't care that you have a black eye. It matches the two I gave the kids for mouthing off to me. I told her, if she walked out that door, I'd give them all worse than a black eye. I swear to God. Did they listen? No, of course not. The insolent little pricks were on her side. It was actually an accident at first. I told them they weren't leaving, but the bitch who used to be my wife just kept insisting that it wasn't a safe environment for them to be staying in. I told her to watch her mouth, and she came over and slapped me, saying they were leaving whether I liked it or not. Big mistake. I saw red and chased those assholes around the house so I could get my hands on them. Unfortunately, my oldest, he was 13 at the time, slipped while running away from his loving father and hit his head on the corner of our granite countertop. I never knew such a little wound could produce so much blood. Very strange. My wife immediately started screaming while she cradled her in his arms. She kept wailing at me, "Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance!" I told her that I was on it, that I'd take care of it, and by it, I meant her. I took a very large knife out of a drawer, came up behind her, yanked her head back by her greasy hair exposing her neck, and slashed her throat. I then made sure my oldest was also taken care of, if you know what I mean. After taking a moment and bathing in their sweet blood, I realized I had to take care of one loose end, my baby girl. She was 7 at the time and such an adorable little girl. Unfortunately for her, she was the spitting image of her mother, who was the thing in this world that I hated most at the moment. Who knows what would have happened if she had looked like her dear old dad instead. Maybe I would have snapped out of my rage if she had, but maybe I would have been even more gruesome. Who knows? All I know is that the knife was still in my hand when I saw her and she ended up with it in her back. It was at that moment that I realized I had to get out of there, and quickly. There had been a lot of screaming and we had some very nosy neighbors. If I had had time, I would have taken them out too. But you know, as they say, time is money. So I changed clothes, washed myself off, gathered up as much as I could, and took off. I kept driving, only stopping if I needed gas, paying with cash, and I slept in rest areas. I switched license plates with cars to avoid detection as much as I could. I did this for probably a good month or two. I'm not really sure. That time is a complete blur. I just needed to get the fuck out of Missouri. Mine River was such a vile place to be anyway. Honestly, now that I'm out, I feel a bit of remorse. I really do feel bad that I killed them. When I did. I should have done it sooner and in a much more thoughtful way. Then I could have had more of a constructed plan. Oh well. Have to break a few eggs to make an omelet, as they say. After all, if I hadn't ascended in that way, I never would have found my house here and gotten to know you and your lovely children. Funny how things work out. I said all of that to tell you that you'll never know I'm up here. Not until I want you to, that is. Because one day, I will. I will want you to know I'm up here. And that will be a day you will never forget because it'll be your last. So enjoy your home while you still can. It won't be long. I promise. Okay, well, time for bed. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the me bite. Because when I do, I will never let go. When I was 10 years old, I almost got run over by a train. And I don't mean I saw a train and got off the track just in the nick of time. I mean, a train literally almost killed me. This is that story. It started out like any other day. I went on a bike ride with this kid named Charlie. I don't remember Charlie's last name, but he was a kid in my class that lived by me. Charlie and his parents were about to move away when this happened. It was a Saturday, and he had just had his last day at our school the day before. I was riding my bike past his house as I was heading towards my grandma's house, a route I took often, and I saw that his dad was packing up their moving truck. There was a dresser and a coffee table in their driveway that his dad was in the process of placing into the truck as he waved me over. "Hey there," his dad said. "You're in Charlie's class, aren't you?" "I am," I said, nodding. "Great. We're getting the last of our things packed up, and we thought it would be a good idea if Charlie got out and saw this town one last time before we moved." "Okay," I said, confused as to why he was telling me this. Me and Charlie weren't exactly friends. We weren't enemies by any means, but certainly not friends. "I guess you know that yesterday was his last day at your school, so we thought he could use a little bike ride around the area. Not too far, enough to just see some of the town one last time," his dad said, and then he patted me on the shoulder with a forced smile. Looking back, it's clear that he was fighting with his wife or Charlie, and he wasn't in that great of a mood. I didn't pick up on this as a kid, but now I can definitely tell that someone in that family was not happy. "Hey Charlie, come on out and ride your bike with your little friend," his dad called. "What little friend?" Charlie asked as he came out of the open door to the house. "Saw your little friend here riding his bike and recognized him from your school." "You two are friends, right?" his dad said through gritted teeth. "With Bigsby? I mean, I guess he's alright. We don't really hang out. Can't I just go over to..." "Great, why don't you two get out of here for a little bit and go on a little bike ride," his dad said, patting his son's head. "But Dad, I just want..." "Charlie, go and ride your damn bike with this kid now," his dad said, showing how pissed he really was. At the time, I just thought he was annoyed that Charlie didn't listen to him. Now I know he was probably just stressed out over the move. "Okay, fine," Charlie said, and he went to get his bike out of their garage. I had to stand there awkwardly as his dad watched Charlie with crossed arms and a tapping foot. He looked at his watch several times, and it seemed to take Charlie forever to come back out with the bike. In reality, it took less than a minute, but it was so tense and awkward with his dad there that it seemed longer. "Okay, we have a lot of work to do still, so take your time. You two have fun," his dad said, waving at us as we rode off. Once we were out of sight, I'd imagine that his dad then went inside and had a drink or a cigarette or something. With how stressed out he seemed, he definitely needed something to take the edge off. We rode in complete silence for a few minutes until Charlie yelled up at me. "Where are we going?" "I'm just going to follow the railroad tracks." "Why?" "My grandma lives over this way. Most of the time, I don't even see her. I just go in this little park that's by her house." "Oh, okay. Whatever." Going to the park and then going back had been my plan. At least it was before I had been forced to have a companion for once. I don't think Charlie cared where we went though. He didn't want to be on this bike ride, but even though he protested at first, I don't think he wanted to be around his parents either. Probably because he didn't want to move. A friend of mine recently told me that Charlie's parents got a divorce after they moved. It all makes sense, really. "So where are you moving anyway?" I asked Charlie as we biked along the railroad tracks. "It's not too far away, but I don't really want to talk about it right now." I think it was just a town or two over, but as a kid, even that seemed like a big deal. You have to change schools and you won't be able to see all of your friends. This was before social media and no kid had a cell phone, so it was difficult to stay in touch with people you didn't see at school or that you didn't live by. We may not have talked much, but we both seemed okay with the company. We actually made it to the park by my grandma's in pretty good time and hung out there for a little. We played on the swings and just wandered around looking for creatures by the side of the creek. We hadn't been there that long when Charlie seemed to be getting antsy. "We should probably head back," he said. "My parents said that they wanted to leave soon, so we should go," he said, even though his dad said for us to take our time. It hadn't been very long, maybe in total like 10 minutes of being at the park after maybe 20 minutes of bike riding. As a kid, time was weird though. We didn't have watches, so we had no idea what time it was. I could tell that he was getting anxious though. He didn't want to be with me, but he also didn't want to move. He was just a scared kid who didn't know what was going to happen in his life, which I understood then, and I still very much understand that now. I knew though that he said we needed to head back primarily because he didn't want to hang out with me anymore. I didn't mind. I was used to being by myself. Honestly, being around other people kind of made me nervous, so in a way I was happy to head back home. It meant that I didn't have to interact with people anymore. Our way back on the tracks was very similar as it was on the way there. Not much if any talking. Just a peaceful bike ride. That is, until it happened. We were going along the tracks when my tire suddenly exploded. I mean, actually exploded. No fire, but there was a huge pop. I was flung off of my bike like it was a bucking bronco. I did a front flip onto the tracks and busted my ass. After shaking off the daze, I heard the train coming. No, that was not quite accurate. I saw the train coming. It was a straight stretch of tracks and I could see it barreling down on me. It was still a ways away, but I felt it as it roared down the tracks. Charlie yelled that I needed to get up. No shit, I thought. I tried to stand and couldn't. My foot was caught in the tracks. Horrified, I jerked and tried to pull my foot out to no avail. I looked up to ask Charlie for help, but he was gone. I didn't know where he was. All I knew was that the train was almost to me and I couldn't move. I struggled to get my foot unstuck as the earth trembled beneath me. I knew it was futile and there was no chance that I was going to survive. I closed my eyes and just listened to the whistle of the train sing its song out to the surrounding area. As the train crept closer, I opened my eyes and saw the thrift store that used to be a bank. Or was it still a bank then? I don't remember. But what I do remember thinking is that it was an odd place for a building to be. As I looked at the building, I saw the silhouette of someone coming towards me. At first, I thought it was Charlie coming back to help. No such luck. As the silhouette got closer, I could tell that it was much larger than Charlie. It was a silhouette of a man. I couldn't see his face at all. I couldn't make out anything about him because I was facing the sun and it was around sunset. That horrible time of day when if you look west, you're practically blind. I could tell that the man was getting closer. For some reason, I was more drawn to the man's silhouette than I was to the train at that point. Probably because I knew what my fate would soon be. Instinctually, I looked toward the train, which was now moments away from ending me. I looked back at the silhouette and it was gone. Bewildered, I looked down and saw that my foot was now free. I immediately dove off of the tracks, narrowly escaping the train. The man driving the train, however, was not as lucky as I was. His death would haunt me for the rest of my life. The train then screeched to a halt because its driver was trying to not kill me. The sound was deafening. I watched while on the ground as the train tipped over on its side. I could feel the sparks from where I was sitting. This was in southeast Missouri. If I had been in a drier climate like Colorado, then the entire area would have gone up in flames, adding insult to an already major injury. Now, I didn't stick around for long. Something took over and I just ran. I don't even remember what path I took to get home. It's all a big blur. I remember the intensity of the sparks and then I remember lying in my bed, hyperventilating. My mom came in to check on me, but before she could really ask me anything, the phone rang and she went to answer it. I heard her yell, "What? Is everyone okay?" It was one of my aunts. She had just told my mom about the train crash. Apparently it was a disaster, literally a disaster. The train, which had at least 30 or 40 cars, tipped over onto its side with all of its cars following suit. There was one reported death, the conductor. That poor guy had lost his life trying to save mine. One person also lost their legs. One of the train cars landed on his house, destroying it and landing on their legs. As horrible as that was, he's lucky that he only lost that one. It could have been significantly worse. Look at the poor conductor. When I heard that he had died, I had recurring dreams about him until I was at least in high school. Sometimes I had them in college too, though. Over the years, they've sort of just dissipated. Right when they were completely gone, another nightmare took over. These dreams about the conductor were nothing like the nightmares created by another accident, though. Nothing explicitly supernatural ever happened in my dreams. The dead conductor's ghost never haunted me or anything like that. Just that I would continually see the train coming towards me and I would see him driving it. Sometimes he had a sad and somber look. Other times he just had a blank, robotic expression. One time he was laughing maniacally with fiery eyes. That time he didn't stop. He actually sped up significantly. I woke up drenched in sweat, breathing harder than I ever had after a nightmare. That time, the train actually got to me. Other times, I could hear him yell at me. In reality, I didn't see him before the train tipped over. I only saw what he looked like because I saw a picture of him in the newspaper when they covered the accident. And boy, did they ever cover it. After my mom got off the phone with her sister, she asked if I wanted to go see the train with her. I almost said no, but thought that would be too suspicious. I mean, what 10-year-old boy doesn't want to see a literal train wreck? It would have told everyone that something was wrong, and even at that age, I knew I needed to tread lightly with this situation. So I went knowing full well it would probably not be good for me to see it. We're not the only ones around looking at the accident either. Frankly, it would have been weirder if I wasn't there looking at it. We parked near the high school, a place I would become all too familiar with in the coming years. It took us a minute to find a parking spot. It was as if the entire town was there to look at the crash. It was madness. Once we finally found a spot, we walked up and down the now barren tracks, looking at the overturned cars. It was remarkable in that there wasn't anything that remarkable about the crash. I thought I would have a panic attack and freak out about seeing the damage that I caused, but at first, I didn't. I was, however, gazing at the overturned cars and became hypnotized by the fact that I caused this. No one else had done this. I was the one who had made this happen. At first, it felt exhilarating. At first, it was a new feeling of power, a sensation I had never felt before, something that made me want to do more, to become more. I felt like a mafia boss or a damn supervillain. I wasn't able to bathe in that feeling for long, though. It was abruptly cut short when I saw the ambulance pull up. 2 ambulances, that is. One had its lights on and the paramedics were ushering people out of the way as they carried a bleeding man out of his house and into the back of the first ambulance. The second ambulance was as silent as death itself. I witnessed the police surround the paramedics as they finished zipping up a black bag. They then slowly and meticulously put the bag on a gurney and then into the back of the ambulance. The paramedics then took their time gathering their supplies from the spot where the body had ceased being a man and had officially become a corpse. They then slowly drove away, doing their best not to make another body in need of a bag. After watching the second ambulance drive away, I just remember standing there, not knowing what was real anymore. Had I just felt like I'd enjoyed that moment? Had I just felt like I wanted more of that feeling? I had come crashing down from that high in stunning fashion, realizing what I had actually done. And believe me, that wouldn't be the last time a major fall would happen to me. Many more were still to come. At some point, we were walking along and the police finally started ushering people away. They had been more worried about getting the 2 victims taken care of first and making sure there weren't any more. I saw it as I turned around to head back to my mom's car. Something that I couldn't make out was in a bush. Something that I couldn't take my eyes off of. As I got closer to the bush, I realized that it was some sort of cap. It was very similar to a baseball cap, except for the fact that it was a little taller. It had white and blue stripes all up and down it, no logo, and aside from a little dirt, it was in almost perfect condition, like it had just come out of the box. I knew it was important for some reason, so I grabbed it and put my new conductor's cap into my pocket as we went home.